Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to MX Simulator, where today we are playing the 2019 Anaheim 1 Supercross in MX Simulator, created by the Race Factor Gaming track crew. A little bit of fun replica gameplay action today on this wonderful track. Anaheim 1 coming up this weekend. Can't believe it's happening. If you guys have already watched my Monster Energy Supercross video from earlier today, kind of discussing the 450 class, this video today I'm going to be talking about the 250 West region and what we kind of know about the series and what we think is going to happen, and some thoughts and opinions about all that business. But we're going to have some fun playing this track along the way, and I hope you guys sit back and enjoy this one. This track was just raced technically last night for me, but it's going to be 2 nights ago for you guys in the opening round of Moto Option Supercross. Good fun, lots of laughs in the broadcast crew, and a good race too, so definitely want to head over and check that out if you haven't already seen it. I have a road on 5 right now, so you may see the track wearing a little bit before this video is over. I only have it on 19 laps as well, because I'm trying to hold myself back from going on rants and talking too long, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, shall we talk about some 250 West Supercross, ladies and gentlefish? I think we shall. 250 West Supercross 2019. Who's going to be racing? Well, officially, we don't really know. Unofficially, lots of rumors flying around about who will be there, and kind of confirmation from some teams as well about who it's going to be. Oh yeah, you can totally see the track already eroding in. Sweet. It's going to look good towards the end of the video. So, here's what we have, or what we know so far. PC Cowie is sending Adam Cianciarulo and rookie teammate Garrett Marchbanks to the line. TLD KTM is sending veteran Shane McElrath and teammate Sean Cantrell to the line. Star Racing Yamaha is going to be putting Frenchman Dylan Ferrandis and teammate Colton Nichols out on the track. Geico Honda has had to have a little bit of an audible call. They're originally going to have Sexton and I believe Craig both race west. Neither of them are going to make it because they both got injured. Moved Hampshire to the west. And as to not have rookie Hunter Lawrence get kind of thrown off in his rookie season of Supercross by racing the big spectacle stuff early on and all the West Coast craziness, they're putting him on the East. And they've rehired Cameron McAdoo to take his spot, so he'll be out there. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing is going to bring Michael Moseman to the line out west, and we will see Big Air Tom Covington and Jordan Bailey out on the East for those guys. And JGR Suzuki Factory Racing is going to have Jimmy D, you know Jimmy D, and Enzo Lopes. That is the factory teams. We're also going to have some non-factory riders out there, or I guess you could kind of call them factory riders, or like pseudo-factory riders. Guys like Jacob Hayes, Chris Belos, Dylan Merriam, Justin Starling, just to name a few that are going to be out there. But I really do feel like it's going to be your factory teams that we're going to see shine this year. And more notably, 3 riders on those factory teams in Adam Cianciarulo, Shane McElrath, and Dylan Ferrandis. I don't see a way that one of those 3 is not your champion at the end of the year. I feel like it would have to be something really big for a Hampshire, for a Nichols, or something like that to step up and dethrone one of those 3. Certainly possible. We always see somebody kind of come up and shake and bake the season around a little bit and kind of surprised that they're doing as well as they are. That always happens. But on paper, from the results we've had in the past, what we know about all these riders, got to be AC, McElrath, and Ferrandis as the favorites here, in my opinion at least. And each one of those guys, all 3 of them, they really have, you know, interesting backstories of how they got here. AC, you know, child prodigy, essentially, Team Green forever. Pretty much expected from his amateur days to be in this spot at some point and be winning a championship. Probably already should have won a championship if he's honest, and if we're being honest about him. He's had plenty of opportunity to get it done. Injuries have hindered him. And now here he is trying to win his first title in maybe what might be his last year on a 250F. Now, Shane McElrath could very well point out after this year. He's pretty close to the eligibility limits. So if he does win the title, I think he only gets his 1 year to defend and then he's out. The rules change every freaking week though, so probably could change. But McElrath, kind of a nobody in amateurs, and gets picked up by then TLD Honda, comes and races a few nationals for them, gets a full-time ride. Before you know it, he's pretty much their guy. Like, he's the star of the team. Yeah, you could talk about Jordan Smith on the East also being the star of the team, but, you know, McElrath has won Anaheim 1 before. He's won tons of races before. He is a definite title contender at this point, and it very well could be his last season on a 250F, so he's kind of like the established veteran for TLD KTM, and he's really made a career out of kind of being an unknown, like I said. So that's really, really cool to see McElrath has gotten this far, and I mean, gosh, he really could win this championship. I mean, how crazy would that be to have the guy that really had nothing come out and come all the way through the ranks and get this championship away from, like I said, AC, the child prodigy. I love AC, but he really has had it all for a long time, and I think he knows that as well. So definitely interesting story about McElrath. And then on the other side, kind of the flip side of it all, somebody who has no background in American racing until a couple of years ago, just wanted to come here, follow a dream, and race Supercross, and he's made a pretty good career for himself already in the United States, and he's still kind of, I feel like, just getting started, and that's Dylan Ferrandis. You know, I think there's a lot of upside for Ferrandis. He's, you know, arguably one of the most smoothest and technically able riders in the 250 class today. Electrifyingly fast outdoors, smooth and consistent indoors, kind of your perennial total package, if you will. And so far, he's never really been able to put it together in or outdoors, really, but never indoors. He's never won a Supercross before. And he still comes in as kind of a title favorite. I mean, that's just goes to show kind of the level of talent that he has, that he can come in like this, already be considered a championship threat, and he's yet to even win a race yet. But I mean, it's true. You have to put him in discussion here because of how good he is, how, you know, consistent and fast, and always seems to be a threat to be up front. It just makes perfect sense to still have him as a title threat, like I said. So you got those three guys for sure stepping it up this year. I don't really know if I can pick a favorite between any of them. My heart kind of wants AC to win. He's a good dude. He's a likable personality, and he's had all this pressure on him his whole life to get this done. So at this point, like, you almost kind of expect it to be the, you know, the end of a fairy tale, if you will, like him finally breaking through and figuring this stuff out. But for whatever reason, Cianciarulo never starts a season very well. He's never, since he won his very first Supercross race ever at Dallas, I don't think he's ever won an opener, and I don't think he's actually ever won a race within the first couple of rounds of an opener since that first Supercross win of his career, which is weird because he came out of the gate like a firestorm back then, and now it seems like he doesn't necessarily do that the same way. Like, he looked kind of unprepared, if you will. Like, that's not necessarily the best word for it, but had his early season struggles last year. Seemed to hit the ground a little bit too often to be, you know, a consistent threat for a win. But then late in the season, he started, you know, picking it up. Got a win in Vegas just like he had the year before. And now here we are again talking about him as being arguably the number one title favorite, despite the fact that he's never really taken a championship to term as being like the top guy in the series. He's always been kind of chasing rather than leading. So I don't, you know, maybe this is the year AC comes in and everything is good from the beginning and he's got it all figured out and his program's good and all that. But as history shows, that's not necessarily the case with him. So I think that's his biggest downfall coming into the season. And if I'm looking for anything out of him at A1 is does he get on the box, for one? And does he, like, actually look like he's that guy now? Does he look like he's going to be the fastest guy all series long? And maybe he just had a weird night at Anaheim 1? Or maybe does he win Anaheim 1 and just put everybody to sleep about it? You know, I think that that's probably his best case scenario is to win, and I know that all those guys want to win. It's not like they're going and trying to lose, but they also want to make it through A1 healthy. So I think that's on their minds. I think that's on AC's mind, and they're not going to break their back just to try to win the race. If it's a possibility, sure, but I think if AC gets a bad start, you could see him settle in, and I would be okay with that for his championship hopes, so long as he is making good, consistent progress through the field and looks like he is the best guy out there. He just didn't make it happen that night. That's kind of what I'm looking for out of AC for the opener. Is that AC showing up this year, or are we gonna have to wait for him to kind of figure it out until too many rounds in and then he's already lost the championship because he's too far down? That's kind of the old AC. The old AC is what kind of should be the new AC, and that's blazing fast, clearly the best guy in the class. And the potential's there. Definitely the potential is there. But is that going to be the AC that shows up? I don't know. We'll have to see. I think McElrath may very well come into this championship as the favorite, though, because he's the opposite of AC. He's never been able to finish. Can't figure out the last, several races of the series past the first 4-ish. But the first 4, McElrath is always like, my God, this guy's going to win the championship. He always has good first rounds. He's won the opener the last 2 years. He might make it a three-peat this weekend. Like, that's definitely very possible out of Shane. And if he comes out guns blazing and wins the opener, wins 3 of the first 4 or something like that, like, how do you say that is a crazy statement to say? Like, that's totally possible because he's practically done it before, and now the field is maybe a little less stacked than it was before, and he has less of the favored competition to go up against this year. So I really feel like my pick for A1 at least is Shane. That's what I'd have to say. I think he's gonna win A1. I think, like I just said, he's gonna have a good first 4 or 5 rounds. What happens after that, I don't know. Because I've never seen Shane have a good last 4 or 5 rounds. The first 4 or 5, great. The last 4 or 5, mechanicals, crashes, weird things. If he figures out those last 4 or 5 rounds, I think it's McElrath's title to lose almost. Like, that's crazy. Maybe it's a little too crazy, but sure enough, Shane is the guy. He looked great in the straight rhythm. Looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Haven't heard one bad thing about him this offseason in terms of practice crashes or, test track malfunctions or anything like that. He's just been quietly putting in the work and coming in to Anaheim with a big monkey on his back, and that's to win this championship and finally put it behind him, really. And I think he's definitely very capable. And different from all of those guys, all 3 of these guys really have something different about them that makes them stand out. I think Ferrandis is by far just like a wild card. And you don't know. You really don't. Like, he's definitely fast. He definitely has the speed to win. But does he have 9 rounds of that speed? Does he have 9 rounds of no crashes? Does he have 9 rounds of consistent finishes? You kind of don't know with Ferrandis, because 2017 was his first year in the class, and he was great, but he never got a win, and he kind of struggled a little bit with consistency. Like, it was kind of week to week where he'd be great, and then and then great, and then And then last year he looked like he was for sure going to be a title contender, got in that huge first turn pile up at Dallas. Next week in Atlanta, wads his brains out in the main event, season's over. So you never really got to see, like, what is he made of, what kind of full championship run does he have, which is why, again, he's like my biggest wild card. Like, if Ferrandis wins this championship and he's standing at the top of the, step of the podium at the end of the season, not going to be shocked at all. Like, even kind of, I'll be like, yep, that makes sense. And the way he got there, sure, it'll probably totally make sense too. Like, it'll just be like, yep, he figured it out. But as of right now, those questions are pretty well unanswered with him. He's proven that he's fast, but he has not proven he is a winner. He has not proven he is a title threat / contender yet, in my opinion. He's unproven, and that's what makes him, in my opinion, a wild card. And it makes AC and McElrath more of like the standout guys that should win this thing. But again, I don't see any reason why Ferrandis wouldn't be a championship contender and, you know, perhaps win the championship because of all the things that I also mentioned that are good about him. His speed, his style, his technicality, his smoothness, and overall, his talent. He's great. He's a really damn good rider. And he's going to figure it out eventually. Whether it's this year, whether it's next year, I think at some point you're going to hear Dylan Ferrandis 250 Supercross champion somewhere. But will it be this year? I don't know. I'm a little bit more on the fence about him than I am the first two guys, but we'll see. Breaking it down a little bit further before I end this video, because I'm trying not to go too long, as mentioned. Those guys behind those, the front three, if you will, it's kind of anybody's guess where this is going to fall. I think RJ Hampshire is probably in like the most need of having his true breakout Supercross season, having won an outdoor national now and proven that he can win. Does that same focus and mentality and speed and all that carry over indoors? Because, you know, he's really had a lot of opportunity with this Geico team. He's been with them for 4 years already, 3 or 4 years, I think. 4 years, I think, actually. Has to be. So, you know, he's gotten the help that he's needed to win these championships, and I think that there's the potential within him to break out and become a race winner and championship contender. But again, kind of unproven speed-wise indoors. I don't think we've ever really seen Hampshire be like the guy indoors. He's won heats, he's qualified well, but at no point have I ever been like, dude, Hampshire's going to destroy this main event. Whereas all three of the guys I mentioned before that, I've felt that way about them before. Even Ferrandis, even though he's never won a main, I felt like in the heats before, I've been like, holy crap, Dylan Ferrandis is fast, and then something weird happens in the main. But I've never felt that way about Hampshire. I've never really felt that way about Colt Nichols either. Another guy that you're kind of like, you know, the speed, the talents, the mix is there. The right mixture's there, you know, sugar, spice, and everything nice, if you will. But does that equate into podiums, race wins, championship wins? You know, who knows? These guys all have something to fight for sure, but whether or not they're your real, true championship contenders quite yet, I don't know if I can put them in that group. But they really can make a breakout season memorable this year and go into next season as a title favorite, like the three guys I mentioned at the beginning. Like, that's 100% possible, where Nichols or Hampshire pick up a win, and then you're like, oh yeah, next year it's on, with AC out of the class perhaps, and McElrath getting pointed out, and Ferrandis going to a different coast, or maybe on the same coast but not as good, or something like that. You can totally say those guys could make it happen, but right now they're not the favorites, and they really haven't proven that they should be yet either, in my opinion. You know, the same goes, you can go down this list and say the same thing about all of them. Same for McAdoo and Marchbanks, Cantrell. I mean, Marchbanks, it's his rookie year, so there's really kind of not a ton of pressure on him to do anything massively spectacular like race victories or anything. It's kind of a learning year, as it is with most rookies. Same goes for Lopes on the JGR Suzuki. But, you know, those guys that I mentioned, they really should be looking at this year as like I have to make this year my, quote, breakout year. So next year, or at some point in the future, I'm the guy. Like, just point blank, put a period on the end of it. That's what their focus has got to be this year. It's like the best possible year that they can have. If all three front runners get hurt, we may be looking at a title contender right in the middle of this. You know, like somebody could really break out, and then suddenly like, oh my God, like, you know, Michael Moseman, look at how good he's riding. You know, maybe he can start winning races because of injuries, or he's stepped up, or things like that. You know, everybody that's kind of in this mix back here beyond the top three that I mentioned, it's kind of a free-for-all, and it is like that in the 250 class every year, where you're kind of scratching your head thinking like, well, yeah, on paper, Hampshire and Nichols should be the fourth and fifth best guys here, but, I mean, Dakotas has been on the podium before. McAdoo's had a pretty good off-season. At some point, Cantrell's going to figure it all out, I feel. And Marchbanks is probably still on the best team for Supercross in the 250 class, Pro Circuit Kawasaki. So, you know, I think that these guys all have a good answer to the equation right in front of them. It's really just about them figuring it out and whether they want to step up to the plate this year or really use this as a good learning experience year or anything along those lines. There's a lot of different things that are to play for amongst those guys. I'm almost more interested to see what the rest of the field behind AC, McElrath, and Ferrandis do, because they're kind of the ones waiting in the wings, next in line, what's going to happen kind of thing. And the guy that we see break out this year very well could be your champion next year. You know, it's kind of the same thing you could say about Ferrandis. Breakout year the last couple of years, could be a champion this year. McElrath, breakout rides last couple of years, could be your champion this year. At one point or another, McElrath was like a 5th place dude, and now he's a title contender. Same can be said about, you know, Hampshire. Right now, maybe a 5th place dude. Next year, maybe a title contender. Like that's what I'm saying. You know, these guys, they really have a lot more to play for than just trying to go after this title. It's really about kind of like future progress and continuation of what they've learned and what they know into becoming a contender of some sort. So those positions look interesting. Of course, playing fantasy Supercross definitely helps you pay attention to guys more back in the field than just the guys I've already mentioned right here. And you can definitely check us out. You can definitely join our fantasy league. There is a Start Your Systems Fantasy Supercross League on pulpmx.com. I will link you to the forum post on startyoursystems.com that I made that links you to the fantasy page so that you can get involved and discuss with us on the forums. That's going to be like the official page where we discuss our picks each week and kind of go over who's doing well in the league and kind of have a fun little community discussion there. So I'll link you guys to that. You can play Fantasy Supercross. It's definitely a lot of fun, and it's free as well, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, 250 West class kicking off this weekend at Anaheim. Hopefully my musings, opinions, and all that made sense and it wasn't just useless rambling. But whether it was rambling or not, I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this upcoming weekend and your excitement level in general for Supercross. You know, message us in the comment section below. Give us a rundown of who you think is going to be the contenders, who's the pretenders maybe, and everything that you can tell us, and so we can get a good little bench racing discussion going on here. I think it'll be some fun stuff to talk about as we head into Anaheim 1 tomorrow night. So thanks for watching another video here on Start Your Systems. I'm Kellen, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.